Is government spending inflationary? The stimulus bills approved by Congress starting in 2020 led to the largest surge in government spending in history, coinciding with a sharp rise in inflation. This has led many people to assume that government spending itself caused inflation. But is that assumption correct? I'm Ron Sneller, registered financial consultant and investment advisor representative. Thanks for joining me here today. Today, we're going to explore whether government spending inherently leads to inflation. Milton Friedman once famously stated, inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon, produced only by a more rapid increase in the quantity of money than in output. So, from this perspective, it's not government spending alone that drives inflation, but how the spending is financed. If spending is funded through borrowing from the private sector, inflationary effects are limited because the overall money supply remains stable. However, when spending is financed by printing new money, expanding the money supply without a corresponding increase in economic output, that is when inflation is inevitable. For a deeper understanding of this relationship, I've got 3 informative charts that I want to share with you. But before we get rolling, I'd like to thank our friends over at First Trust Advisors LP in putting this information together for us to share with you. I would highly encourage that you follow them on their social media channels. So for more info, follow Brian S. Westbury, Chief Economist at First Trust, and also Robert Stein, Deputy Chief Economist over at First Trust. All right, guys, let's get into it. Okay, so most federal government spending is financed by the private sector through taxation or through borrowing. Consider this example. The government plans to spend $100. It raises $50 through taxes from Peter, and it borrows $50 from Paul. Is this inflationary? And the answer is no, because the total money supply in the economy hasn't changed. Only its distribution has shifted. So think of the economy as a pool with the water representing the total quantity of money. In this scenario, the government is simply scooping water from the shallow end via taxes and borrowing, and pouring it back into the pool in the deep end through spending. The total amount of water in the pool remains the same, only its location has been adjusted. Occasionally, government spending is not only financed by the private sector, but also by the Federal Reserve, or what we refer to as the Fed. This is where government spending becomes inflationary. Starting in 2020, government spending surged by over $5 trillion, much of it funded by the Federal Reserve, creating money out of thin air to purchase treasury bonds. This massive injection of newly created money caused the money supply to surge, driving the inflation that followed. Back to the pool analogy, typically the government borrows from the private sector, taking a bucket of water from the shallow end and pouring it into the deep end, leaving the overall water level unchanged. But in this case, however, a water truck called the Fed backed up to the pool and dumped in vast amounts of new water, newly created money. And this caused the pool to overflow, aka inflation. This dramatic increase in the money supply is the primary driver of the inflation that we experienced. How do you lower inflation? Again, we think back to the pool analogy. The economy is the pool, and the water level represents the money supply. Inflation occurs when too much water, aka money, overflows the pool, aka the economy. To fix this, you can do one of 2 things. You can either drain water or reduce the money supply, or you can expand the pool, aka grow the economy. So we can either reduce the money supply or grow the economy. Though the picture makes it look pretty straightforward, draining money is pretty difficult once the Fed pushes it into the economy. After all, the Fed can't just go out there and confiscate money, right? However, the government can stop increasing the money supply and let the economy catch up. This will lower inflation. Deregulation and cutting taxes, those can be really good things because they may incentivize business starts, innovation, and investment, all of which grow the size of the pool. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that this was helpful. Once again, I'm Ron Sneller, registered financial consultant and investment advisor representative. As a standard disclaimer, this video is for educational purposes only. It is not intended for financial or investment advice. If you would like professional advice or assistance with the management of your portfolio or your retirement income planning during these trying times, you can connect with us through our website at snellerfinancial.com or visit us through our social media channels. I've been in the business for more than 11 years and have happy clients in 47 states and even Washington, D.C. and the Virgin Islands. You can book a free consult to learn how we can help you. This has been another episode of 3 for Thursday, and I hope that you found it valuable and informative. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.